Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Clive from Live Pulse. And first off, I'd like to say that watching everybody yesterday in London, it made my heart feel proud of this country. All those people, patriots. And my hat goes off to Tommy Robson. I think everybody did a fine job. I'm sure the messages might have got through. But this is what I'm going to talk about. See, I'm going to talk about, it's not going to be easy, what I'm going to talk about. I knew that saying what I'm about to say would be controversial and that some would disagree and that some would even be angry, but I also knew that silence is no longer an option. You see, when the future of our United Kingdom, the prosperity of our families, the safety of our communities, and the very values that have made our country great are at stake, you see, we have a duty to speak up. I know we did it yesterday, but we have to keep going. We have to keep the momentum going. We have that duty. And we have a duty to tell the truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth may be. For many years, I, like yourselves, believed that the Labour Party was a legitimate part of our political system. Now, I'm going back 1970. See, I believe that they stood for something, and I believe that they existed to serve the people, to fight for fairness, and to protect the vulnerable, and to build a better Britain. You see, I remember the Labour Party of old. I mean, Harold Macmillan and way back then. And the party that helped build our NHS. And they fought for better wages and working conditions. That stood up for ordinary people against powerful interests. But I mean, today, I'm talking to you now, and I'm saying that the Labour Party no longer exists. I mean, what we have now is something entirely different. I mean, what we have now is a party that is so toxic to our country, a party that is actively damaging our economy. And not just that, it's dividing our society, it's eroding our democracy, weakening our security, and betraying every single value that it once claimed to hold dear. I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. Now, I'm going to lay out some facts and the evidence and the real-world impact of Labour's policies, its actions and its ideology. See, I'm going to show you how every part of our national life, from the money in your pocket to the safety on our streets, to the unity of our communities, and to the standing of our country in the world. And this has been harmed, and it continues to be harmed by this party. And I'm going to make the case clearly and unequivocally that as long as Labour holds power or shapes our national agenda, our country will continue to decline, divide, and drift away from everything that made Britain great. So, let me start with a simple question. What do we expect from a political party? And especially from a party that seeks to govern our nation. We expect them to deliver economic security so that people can provide for their families, save for the future, and build a good life. We expect them to bring our country together, to unite us around shared values, and to treat every person, every community, every background with respect. And we expect them to uphold our values, and they're not. You see, the other thing is we expect them to uphold our democracy, to be honest, transparent, accountable, and to serve the public interest above all else. We expect them to keep us safe. Safe in our homes, safe on the streets, safe from threats abroad. Nope, securing our borders, that's a laugh. And we expect them to stand up for our country, our history, our traditions, and our place in the world. That's what we expect. And what have we got? Labour fails on every single one of these. And it's not just that they fail, it is that their policies, their approach, and their very nature make failure inevitable and make the damage far worse than it needs to be. That is what makes them toxic. You see, toxic means something that poisons, that harms, that destroys from within. And that is exactly what Labour is doing to our United Kingdom. We have economic ruin. Labour's war on prosperity. I mean, what gives? You see, the issue that affects every single one of us, every single day, our economy. Because without a strong economy, a growing, prosperous economy, nothing else works. We cannot fund our NHS, our schools, our police, or even our armed forces. We cannot help the vulnerable, support the elderly, or give our children a good start in life. We cannot have security, opportunity, or fairness if our economy is broken. And no party has done more to break our economy and to keep it broken than the Labour Party. Now let me take you back. History tells us time and time again that whenever Labour has come to power, they've left our economy in a mess. I remember the 1970s, we had that winter of discontent, rubbish piling up in the streets, bodies left in cemeteries unburied, strikes bringing the country to a halt, inflation running at nearly 27%, unemployment soaring, and Britain forced to go cap in hand to the International Monetary Fund, begging for money. So, I mean, it was ridiculous. And it was all because Labour had spent all our money and more. And what happened when Labour left office in 2010? They left us with the biggest budget deficit in our peacetime history. A deficit of over £150 billion a year. 150 billion. They spent recklessly, borrowed beyond our means, and left ordinary families to pay the price for years afterwards. And today, history repeats itself. Labour is doing exactly the same, but worse. Let's look at their record and their policies. First, taxes. Since Labour took power, or since their policies have shaped our national direction, we have seen the biggest tax hikes in generations. Now, let me be clear. These are not taxes on the rich, as they claim. These are taxes on everyone. taxes on working people, taxes on small businesses, taxes on families, taxes on pensioners. The tax burden in our country is now at its highest level since the Second World War. A typical working family is paying thousands of pounds more every year in tax than they were just a few years ago. You work hard for your money. You get up early. You go out to work. You do your hours. You do your best. And Labour takes more and more of it every single time. What do we get in return? Nothing. Worse than nothing. Because Labour does not spend your money wisely. Oh, no. They waste it. They waste it on endless, bloated, unnecessary government departments, on thousands of new quangos and bureaucrats, on failed schemes that never ever deliver, on contracts given to their friends and allies, and on projects that go over budget and never work. Let's take just one example, our energy sector. Labour's policies have driven up energy prices to record levels. They promised a green revolution, but in essence, what we got was higher bills. Families choosing between heating and eating. Businesses closing because they cannot afford the energy costs. And our country becoming dependent on foreign energy supplies while we have a vast reserve of our own resources right here under our feet. They taxed our own oil and gas industries, driving investment away, driving jobs abroad and making us poor and less secure. All for an ideological obsession that does nothing for the environment but everything to hurt ordinary people. Look at small businesses, the backbone of our economy. The biggest employer in our country, the people who create jobs, drive innovation and build our communities. Labour hates small businesses. They see anyone who works hard and who builds something and who succeeds as someone to punish. They have piled regulation after regulation on businesses, red tape that costs billions of pounds every year, rules that make it harder to hire people, harder to grow, harder to make a profit. They've increased business rates, increased national insurance, increased taxes on profits, so that many small businesses now work just to pay the government and make no profit at all. Thousands of small shops, family farms, local manufacturers and independent traders have closed down in recent years, driven out of business by Labour's policies. And when they close, jobs are lost. Communities lose their local services and our economy becomes weaker and more dependent on big corporations that Labour claims to hate, but actually favour because they're big enough to absorb the cost of Labour's endless taxes and rules. Then there is debt. Labour loves to spend money that's not theirs. Oh no. They borrow billions and billions of pounds every single year, adding to our national debt. You see, debt that now stands at over £2.5 trillion. Every year we spend more on paying interest on that debt than we spend on our schools and our defence, our police. That's money that is just thrown away, gone forever, wasted because Labour cannot control their bloody spending. And who pays for it? Our children and our grandchildren. Labour is stealing from future generations. They're burdening young people with debts and they will spend their whole working lives paying off. Well, they're taking away opportunities from our kids just so they can spend money now to buy votes, to please their special interests and to expand the size and power of the state. And what about growth? You see, Labour promised us growth. They said their policies would make our economy bigger, stronger, more competitive. But what's happened? Growth has stalled. We have had years of stagnation, of low productivity, of falling living standards. Britain is now one of the slowest growing economies in the developed world. Businesses are leaving, moving their headquarters, their operations, their jobs to countries with low taxes, less regulation, and more pro-business policies. Wealth creators are leaving. Investors are staying away. Well, why would they come here when Labour makes it so hard to succeed? So expensive to operate and so risky to invest. And let's talk about public services, because this is the biggest hypocrisy of all. Labour says they're the party of public services. They say they care about the NHS. They say they care about the schools, about public services more than anyone else. But look at the reality. We spend more on our NHS than ever before. Hundreds of billions of pounds every year. More per person than almost any other country in Europe. Yet, waiting lists are at record highs. Over 7 million people waiting for treatment. Waiting months, even years. In pain, in distress, and some even dying before they can get the care they need. Our schools are slipping down the international league tables. Our children are falling behind their peers in maths, in reading and in science. Standards are dropping. Oh, it just gets worse. Discipline is poor. There's too many young people. There are too many. It just gets to me, it really does this. Everybody falling behind, and there's too many young people leaving school without the basic skills they need to get a job or build a life. Now our roads are potholed to hell. Our trains are late and expensive. Our public transport isn't reliable. Why? Because Labour throws money at problems but never fixes them. They increase spending but they never reform. They pour billions into the NHS but they let bureaucracy grow. They let waste increase. They let bureaucracy take over so that for every pound you pay in tax, only a fraction actually goes to patient care or to teaching children. Labour does not care about making public services work. They care about making public services big, because big government gives them power, influence and control. Their economic philosophy is simple, and it's wrong. They believe that the state knows best. They believe that government should control as much of our lives and our money as possible. And they believe that success is something to be punished, that enterprise is something to be punished as well, and that wealth is something to be spread around, not created. They don't understand that you cannot share wealth if you do not create it first. They do not understand that the more you tax people, the less they have to spend, to invest, to grow. They don't understand that the more you regulate, the less freedom people have to work, to build and to succeed. Now, this is not just bad economic policy, it's toxic. It poisons our prosperity, it makes us poorer, weaker, and less able to face the future. It hurts the people Labour claim to care about the most: working people, families, the vulnerable, the poor. Because when the economy is broken, everyone suffers. When businesses close, jobs are lost. When taxes go up, families have less money to spend on food, eating, clothes, or holidays. And when public services fail, the people who need them most are left behind. Labour's economic policies are not progressive, they're destructive. They are a war on prosperity, and they are destroying our country's economic future. Now, we've got Labour is tearing our society apart as well with division. You see, it's not just our economy that Labour is destroying. Even worse, in many ways, is what they're doing to our society, to our communities, and to the bonds that hold our nation together. Because a country is not just an economy, not just a set of laws, not just a piece of land. A country is its people. It is the relationship between us and the shared values, the sense of belonging, and the belief that we are all in this together, that we are one nation, whatever our background, wherever we live, whatever our circumstances. And Labour is tearing that apart. They're dividing us, turning us against each other, and poisoning the very soul of our country. Let me remind you, the Labour Party once stood for unity. They once said that there were no enemies within our country, only enemies of our country. They once campaigned for a fairer society where everyone had a chance, where everyone was respected, where we came together to make life better for everyone. Today, they do the opposite. Today, their whole political strategy is based on division. It's based on splitting people into groups, on creating grievances, on stoking anger, on turning neighbour against neighbour, community against community, generation against generation. I mean, let's talk about identity politics. The weapon Labour has used to tear us apart. Labour does not see us as British citizens, as people, as individuals. They see us only by our race, our gender, our religion, our sexuality, our age, our background. They tell people that they are victims, that they are oppressed, that the system is rigged against them, that other people are to blame for their problems. They create division between black and white, men and women, young and old, rich and poor, native and migrant, city and country. They tell one group that they deserve more, then that another group has too much, that another group is a problem. This is just wrong. It's bloody dangerous. Because when you start to tell people that they are victims, you take away their agency, their hope, their ability to change their own lives. And when you tell people that other people are to blame for their problems, that's when you create resentment, anger, and hostility. And when you turn groups against each other, you break down trust. You destroy community cohesion and you make it impossible for us to work together for the common good. And let's be clear, Labour does not believe in equality. They believe in division and in favouring some groups over others, and we know who they are. They judge people not by their character, their actions, their contribution, or their potential, but by which box they tick on a form. They promote discrimination in the name of equality, giving jobs, places, opportunities to people, not because they're the best person for the role, but because of who they are. This is unfair, it's wrong, and it creates division. Thank you.